The 2021 FIH Women's Hockey Junior World Cup will be hosted in Potchefstroom from the 5th to the 16th of December. This will be the first Women's Hockey Junior World Cup to be held on African soil. The International Hockey Federation, the South African Hockey Association and Northwest University will be hosting the event. For more on this, we're joined by Sheldon Rostron, Chairman of the Local Organising Committee. Thanks so much for your time, Sheldon. Now, in this pandemic that we are living, it's put a huge pressure on hosting international sporting events. Give us a sense and an idea of the readiness that you and your team are in, looking towards the date of the hosting of this particular event.
Yeah, it's been quite a task being able to, put together an event and an international one under the circumstances. Obviously, it means that we're going to have to try and focus on ensuring a strong buyer bubble. And that's not just to protect only the athletes and the staff that will be in the bubble, but it's also just to give the countries and their governments, a form of surety of everything that we're putting in place to do our best to obviously curb the spread of COVID and also obviously the impact on the event. FIH made an announcement that obviously this event is to go forward, and we need to put a lot of things in place to make sure that there's a lot of security and care in terms of how we make sure that this event goes forward. So a lot of processes and protocols have been put in place and a lot of testing that's going to have to be done. And unfortunately, we'll see an event which will not have spectators. And that's just to ensure that, we can complete the event and make sure that the countries can complete their tasks.
Aside from the spectator issue, we have become so blasé, for lack of a different description, as to what bubble life entails. Now, can you give us an indication of what the specifics are? Clearly, restriction of movement, so that we regular Joe public have an understanding of the further pressures these athletes will be placed under to be able to excel at this event.
Yeah, so I mean, we are often, I think, want to compare it to being a little bit like in prison, because you're just stuck with your four walls, and basically the teams will only be able to go out to the field and do the work that they need to do. So they'll be attending training sessions, they'll be obviously attending their matches, and it means a lot of care in between the movements from accommodation also to the field. So things like sanitizing buses, making sure that every step that they take, there's sanitization in place, social distancing in place. And, hopefully all the teams will be vaccinated, as well as our teams, and the staff that are going to be involved are going to be vaccinated. So we're hoping to try and have as best as possible a situation in trying to mitigate all risks. And that means that there'll also be COVID compliance officers, continuously watching over their shoulders and trying to make sure that all their things are in place. But what we've really tried to do is at least their home will be hopefully a home away from home, one which they can rest in and not have to worry about problems, and obviously can just rest and focus on their next games. And we've had to obviously try and figure out the simple logistics of, managers that need certain things for their players or medical supplies and things like that. We've had to really start making sure that every little detail is obviously looked after, and that we can care for them.
It clearly is a massive event and a massive undertaking. Now onto the playing side of things. Is there still time for one or two individual players to sneak into that divine squad that will represent the country at this event in December, or is that pretty much done and dusted?
Yeah, so my understanding is there's a squad for the national team that is ready. They're participating in a preparation event now, which is the interprovincial tournament, which they'll be playing against all the provincial teams and older players. So it should be quite a task for them, and I think they'll learn a lot out of that. But also, I think there is opportunity definitely for players still to make that team, and they have a lot of preparation camps coming up and leading up to the event. So I'm sure they have their eye on their core of what they're interested in, but I'm sure that there is still an opportunity and a selection opportunity post all of these preparation phases and the final team to still be announced before they start participating in the event. So we're looking forward to seeing the team. It has been announced, the squad which will be participating now at the interprovincial tournament, and it's quite a strong squad. So we have a really positive energy around what's happening there, and really high hope in terms of what they'll be able to produce.
Now, with Argentina arriving as the defending champions of this particular under-21 Ladies World Cup, what are some of the targets for Team South Africa at this World Cup event?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is going to be for them to really focus on their pool stages. And I think, the pools haven't been announced yet, so it's a bit of a guess as to who they'll be playing up against. But I think the reality is that we will be coming up against some of the world's strongest teams. And I think it's going to be really important that they set themselves up in those pool stages, making sure that at least, out of their 4 matches or the 3 matches that they have in the pool stages, that from that they're getting points and that they can then obviously make it off to a playoff. And I think it's really possible under the circumstances. I mean, we've seen, quite a lot of surprises at the Olympics recently, and I think it's just based on every team is almost, been neutralized in terms of the way that COVID has impacted all of the teams. And I think the reality is that within that lies opportunity. And definitely this team has got the capability of going forward and making sure that they can put some teams under pressure.